Good morning. In this occasion of our 77th Independence Day, we remember the glory and struggle that they fought by our great freedom fighters and to pay them a floral tribute. The brave freedom fighters Bhagat Singh, Rajaguru, Sukhdev, and Chandrasekhar Azad. We also remember the enchanting contribution to our freedom movement, our father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose, Dr. Ambedkar, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, EMS, and AKG. Today, we are discussing the fundamental rights guaranteed by our Constitution. Part 3 of the contribution contains the fundamental rights that we have already looked into. When we sail through it, we would understand that the fundamental rights enshrined in Part 3 is not an absolute right, but the state shall have the right which were emanated from the very Constitution itself to make laws imposing reasonable restrictions in the interest of so many things. The state may safeguard too. Article 40, equality before law and equal protection of laws, that we have already seen. The state have the bounden duty to safeguard it and protect every person from its abuse by any authority. If the state fails, every person have the right to move to the Supreme Court for its enforcement as per Article 32, which is also guaranteed in this part of fundamental right. It is also a fundamental right. We have already seen that Article 15 prohibits any kind of discrimination on the ground of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth, etc. The fundamental right is subject to restrictions contained in clauses 3, 4, 5, etc. Clause 3 for making special provision for women and children, that we have already seen. Clause 4 for the advancement of socially and educationally backward classes or scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Clause 5 for the advancement of the above classes of citizens for securing admission to the education institutions, etc. Students, now we are revising what we were discussed in the previous day. So I am going very fast. Article 16 guarantees every citizen equality of opportunity in matters of public employment, and he shall not be discriminated or made ineligible only on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, descent, place of birth, residence, or any of them. And clause 3 provides restrictions on the ground of prohibition contained in Article 16(1) and 2 and allowed the state to make any law creating a class or class of employment for those who are the residents in that state or union territories prior to such employment. Also clause 4, 4a, 4b and 5 are such restrictions on equality of opportunity that we have already discussed. Now today we go to the article 17, that is abolition of untouchability. The untouchable, they were segregated in hamlets outside the town or village boundaries, forbidden their entry to the temples, even in schools, not allow them to draw water from wells. Their touch or the very vicinity seen as polluting, and which was remedied by costly rituals by the elites. So untouchability was a practice among all societies in the recent past. They lived in deplorable condition than that of animals. The abolition of untouchability made a rapid change in the society. Constitution declares the treatment of and enforcement of untouchability a disability, which an offence punishable under the law. So untouchability is dealing in article 17. The very article reads like as follows. Untouchability is abolished and its practice in any form is forbidden. The enforcement of any disability rising out of untouchability shall be an offence punishable in accordance with law. Then we go through Article 18, abolition of titles. No title, not being a military or academic distinction, shall be conferred by the state. So, except a military or an academic distinction, the state shall not confer any of the citizens any titles. Clause 2, no citizen of India shall accept any title from any foreign state. Then clause 3, no person who is not a citizen of India shall, while he holds any office or profit or trust under the state, accept without the consent of the president any title from any foreign state. Clause 4, no person holding any office of profit or trust under the state shall, without the consent of the president, accept any present, emolument or office of any kind from or under any foreign state. That is regarding the accepting of titles, etc. Now we go to the core of our fundamental right, that is right to freedom. The right to freedom is a long cherished right. The right to freedom is important for the development of a democratic society. It enables the individuals to express their views without fear or reprisal. Right to freedom is so fundamental to make it guaranteed by the Constitution itself. This right gives all its citizens the liberty to live freely within the territory of India. The right to freedom includes the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of movement, and freedom to practice any profession or occupation. That is regarding the freedom of expression and movement. The right to freedom is not an absolute right. So we see in all other guaranteed freedom, which has been restricted in the interest of public order, morality, and national security, etc. For instance, speech incites violence is not protected. So also, assembling of persons violating the prohibitory orders are the restrictions contained in this constitution. However, the restriction must be reasonable and follow the principles of natural justice. Now we look at the article, what they say, what it says. Article 19, protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech, etc. That is the title of Article 19. Clause 1 says that all citizens shall have the right. What kind of right? In clause A, to the freedom of speech and expression. Then B, to assemble peacefully and without arms. C, to form associations or unions. D, to move freely throughout the territory of India. E, to reside and settle in any part of the territory of India. F is omitted. Then G, to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business. So that is the operating part of Article 19. Now comes the restrictions, reasonable restrictions. Reasonable restrictions contain clause 2 to clause 6. Though it was worded in lengthy, it is very simple. It is an opening part that nothing in this clause A of clause 1 shall affect the operation of any existing law or prevent the state from making any law insofar as such law imposes reasonable restrictions on the exercise of the right conferred by the said subclause in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of the state, friendly relation with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation or incitement of an offence, etc. were contained in clause 2. So as per clause 2, state have invested with power to make laws imposing reasonable restrictions on freedom of speech and expression encoded in such subclause A of clause 1 of Article 19 to safeguard the sovereignty and integrity of India, security of the state, public order, friendly relation with the foreign state, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation or incitement to an offence that was to be curtailed or curtailed. A reasonable restriction is there in clause 2. Then in clause 3. Clause 3 of the article is the same opening words that says nothing in subclause B of the said clause shall affect the operation of any existing law insofar as it imposes or prevent the state from making any law imposing in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India or public order reasonable restriction on the exercise of the right conferred by the said subclause. So the subclause 3 validates the operation of any existing law and also invests the state with power to make laws imposing reasonable restriction on the right to assemble peacefully and without arms enshrined in the subclause B of clause 1 of Article 19 to upkeep the sovereignty and integrity of India or public order, etc. That is also a clear restriction to the main article. Then comes clause 4. Clause 4 of the Article 19 reads as nothing in subclause C of the said clause shall affect the operation of any existing law insofar as it imposes or prevent the state from making any law imposing in the interest of sovereignty and integrity of India or public order or morality reasonable restrictions on the exercise of the right conferred by the said subclause. Again, the subclause 4 in the Article 19 permits the operation of any existing law which imposes and also empower the state to make any law imposing reasonable restriction on the fundamental right to form associations or unions guaranteed under subclause C of the clause 1 of Article 19 to protect the interest of sovereignty and integrity or public order or morality. So that is the reasonable restrictions imposed in clause 4. Then comes clause 5. Clause 5 of Article 19 reads nothing in this subclause D and E of the said clause shall affect the operation of any existing law insofar as it imposes or prevent the state from making any law imposing reasonable restrictions on the exercise of the rights conferred by the said subclause either in the interest of general public or for the protection of the interest of any scheduled tribe. This subclause in the Article 19 gives a green signal to the operation of any existing law before the commencement of this constitution and also invested the parliament with power to make any law for the protection of the interest of the general public or any scheduled tribe by imposing reasonable restriction on the fundamental right guaranteed in subclause D, that is to move freely throughout the territory of India, or in the subclause E to reside and settle in any part of the territory of India. So it is very clear the reasonable restriction. Now we comes to the clause 6 in the Article 19, which reads nothing in subclause G of the said clause shall affect the operation of any existing law insofar as it imposes or prevent the state from making any law imposing in the interest of general public, reasonable restriction on the exercise of the right conferred by the said subclause. And in particular, nothing in the said subclause shall affect the operation of any existing law insofar as it relates to or prevent the state from making any law relating to 1. The professional or technical qualification necessary for practicing any profession or carrying on any occupation, trade or business. So, the right guaranteed by the Constitution is what is the right guaranteed? Reasonable restriction regarding making law, exercise of the right conferred by certain clause, particularly nothing else. So, for getting employment, the state has to enforce some professional or technical qualification necessary for practicing any profession. So, it is not easy for a citizens to go and without having the specified qualification to acquire a job. Again, in 2, subclause 2, the carrying on by the state or by a corporation owned and controlled by the state of any trade, business, industry or service, whether to the exclusion, complete or partial, of citizens or otherwise. That's also a restriction that the citizens have the right to settle and reside in any part of India. That is Article 19. Again, this clause 6 in Article 19 imposes reasonable restriction in the interest of general public, accord sanction to the operation of any existing law which imposes such a restriction, and to give sanction to the Parliament to make any law imposing such a restriction on the fundamental right guaranteed in subclause G of Article 19 to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business, to prescribe qualification, both professional and technical, for practicing any profession, occupation, trade or business. That is the reasonable restriction made by the Constitution. Or for making any law to give effect to the existing law pre-constitution, to empower the state or by a corporation owned and controlled by the state to carry on of any trade, business, industry or service, excluding completely or partially the citizens from engaging in it. That is, the state monopoly in certain trade, business, industry or service. That was envisaged in this reasonable restriction. It is for the interest of general public, etc. Reasonable restrictions on the freedom enshrined and guaranteed in this article. To that extent, the Constitution curtailed some rights guaranteed by the Constitution itself. With this, we conclude the today's deliberation, right to freedom, contained in Part 3, Article 19 of the Constitution. This seems somewhat lengthy in its description in the reasonable restriction clauses, it is very easy to understand the main rights guaranteed under Article 19. So only the operating words are same throughout these restrictions, whether it's contained in any of the freedom guaranteed by this constitution. It is very easy to understand when the phraseology is correctly understood. So, I wish you again a happy Independence Day. Take care. Thank you.